Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who are joining us today for Big Data Days 2024, day number 2, track number 2. We are again honored to have Usman, who is back here on the second round, twice in a row. This time, he's actually going to take us on this very interesting topic called the role of big data in advancing generative AI. So this is, I think, a more, I should say, in-depth topic. Usman, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine. Thank you very much to hosting me here. So I'm looking forward to give whatever I want to say on big data and advancing,
Sure.
especially focusing how big data role to advance the generative AI.
Yeah, I'm curious to find out as well. So, Usman, I'm going to pass the session over to you so that we can hear your thought leadership on this specific topic itself, on how that big data is actually going to help generative AI. Over to you, Usman.
Thank you very much. Okay, so guys, I'm Usman Haider. I'm a solution architect in data and AI in specifically telecom and media sector for the last 1 decade. So I'm looking after data management system, big data ecosystems, and nowadays I'm looking into generative AI as well. Okay, so I choose this topic because this to actually showcase what exactly are the challenges or what exactly how the things look when what is exactly the role of data and specifically big data ecosystem to support generative AI. I will not go into the definitions of what exactly is big data and generative AI. I think a lot of people are aware about that nowadays. Okay, so the rise of big data is purely like I give you the example of telecom sector. We are approximately 100 terabytes a delta day. Okay, and specifically of our big data ecosystem, it's very big delta. Okay, and we have approximately 8 to 10 petabytes of big data lakes which are currently deployed, and a lot of analytics is being performed on top of that. So the part of analytics, one is conventional analytics, and that contains scan reporting and all the self-service, you can say business intelligence. And the second part, which we are running on our big data ecosystem, is exactly our conventional machine learning. When in the mid 2020s, when the rise of, I would say, when the eruption of actually generative AI came after open AI, a lot of things got changed. Okay, organizations start to think in a different way. Like I give you the example, previously we were sending our marketing campaigns on the real time basis using our big data ecosystem as well as some other technologies and some other ecosystems of campaign management system. Now we recently developed an MVP which actually is helping us to generate our marketing campaigns in much more optimized way, and we have tested that MVP and it has a very excellent results. Okay, so actually big data ecosystem is actually supporting or leveraging the generative AI ecosystem in a way to bring the value. So the rise of big data is like big data is at its peak, and it's approximately get matured as well in big organizations like enterprise organization. We have a very big ecosystem. I can see in my competitive organization, they have also developed a very big data ecosystem in the specifically when it comes to data acquisition, ingestion, data processing, data transformation to make it more like in a curated form and the final form. So they have developed the ecosystem, and a lot of use cases are developed on top of that, and it has become a core heart, especially when I talk about big data specific part. Data lakes are become the core heart about our data ecosystems. So how actually we are leveraging, and I'll not very deep dive into the slides. I'll deep dive into by giving you some example what we are trying, which we are doing today. Okay, and what type of challenges we are facing, and how we actually crossing through this journey of leveraging the big data and generative AI. What exactly we were doing, I told you in conventionally that we have a very big ecosystem where we are processing terabytes of data on a daily basis, and we are serving the conventional machine learning use cases like, give you example of churn prediction, the conventional segmentation use cases, hyper personas, and these type of things. Now, when it comes to the generative AI, okay, we initially we built an ecosystem which was more into MVP, because even a lot of big organization where I'm working were not clear about the results, not clear about what exactly will be the ROI, not and lot of restrictions were from to us from the regulatories and other bodies, internal and external data, specifically internal data governance bodies and the government regulatories. Okay, so we started with building small MVPs, like we built a use case where we are using generative LLMs to actually we have built an LLM which is being integrated with our contact center, which is more like our call center bot. Okay, initially it was a conventional bot where it was more like a conversational bot. Now we are using LLM to leverage that bot, and we are seeing the results. Still, it's working. You can say it's working in parallel. We haven't productionized it purely because we are waiting for some of the things which need to be clarified from the regulatory and the AI policy, which will be soon announced. Okay, so actually behind this ecosystem of generative AI, from where it is getting the data, is big data. So how big data is leveraging is, if I talk about the specific use case about this contact center chatbot using LLM, we are bringing that data, or we are bringing a lot of calls data to the big data ecosystem. We are cleaning that data. We are building features on top of that. If it's the structured data, if it's unstructured data, I'm talking about triple C or contact center calls. We are translating, or we are converting using ASR models from voice to speech and then speech to text models. Okay, and then we are building some sentiment analysis and helping our contact center person in a way to actually drive the value and help the customer and his targets. Okay, so in this case, this is one of the use case which I am telling to you, because in the end, actually, if you are going for a RAG approach, or if you are going for a fine tuning, at the end you need the data, and you need a very data with a very good quality, data with very good health, data with different velocities, data with different volumes. Okay, it matters. It actually changes from use case to use case. So actually, that data with the quality, with the velocity, with the volumes, comes from that big data ecosystem, which is being matured with the time. Okay, and when I talk about practical organization or enterprise organization that have customers data, okay, so we are very curious about our data. So we usually, these ecosystem are not very you can say they are. I cannot go simply to OpenAI and get an API and start feeding them my data. It's consumer's data, so I have to follow the regulatory. I have to follow a lot of things. Okay, while designing my ecosystem. In this case, one of the benefit, or one of the thing that actually help us in this generative AI use case, is that our big data ecosystem was mature. It helped us to actually integrate with the generative AI, or I would say the AI ecosystem, which we built using GPUs, infrastructure layer, then orchestration, then different AI application or AI frameworks like LangChain and other frameworks for RAG and fine tuning. So actually, this is built on top of our big data ecosystem. Even in one of the cases, I don't want to take the names of the platforms, we are using one big data ecosystem workbench as well to develop these type of use cases. Okay, so in theory, actually, the big data or big data ecosystem help us to actually squeeze the timelines, actually help us to drive the speedy value in our generative AI use. Because I'll go later on, I'll go to the challenges, and I'll go to what type of ecosystem we have developed, and how actually big data in terms of different use cases can help in the future to leverage the generative AI. And to be very fair, in enterprise organization that has petabytes of data, if you are not able to store that data, if you're not able to transform the data into created form, if you're not able to build features on top of that, if you don't have an enterprise grade capability with the scalability, resilience, and specifically the quality of the data, okay, you cannot leverage your vision for the generative AI, specifically generating like marketing use cases, network use cases, HR use cases. We are currently working on approximately 18 plus use cases, and we're targeting this year to productionize that use cases and to actually get the value starting from the next year. Because I told you a lot of regulatories, a lot of things are that actually we need to follow that. We are waiting for a lot of policies, and we are trying to see the MVP results as well, though they are very promising, and we are looking forward. So so when I talk about the role of the big data, actually we need to define first of all exactly how we define big data. Big data is not only storing the unstructured, structured, and semi-structured data. It's purely an ecosystem. Okay, an ecosystem that supports you ingestion from different source systems, an ecosystem that help you to transform their data or model their data for the conventional business intelligence and analytics use cases, an ecosystem that help you to build or can help you for enterprise or exploratory data analytics for specifically your data analyst and business analyst, an ecosystem on which you can train your algorithms, conventional algorithm as well as generative AI for any approach, which whatever you are using, you're going for RAG. So you need to have some data or a knowledge base. So actually our big data, to be very fair, is our knowledge base where we recently built a very interesting use case for our optimizing the data management, where we actually trained one of the model on our data governance document. We are building our one use case of ask our data, where we will actually fine tuning open source LLM on some specific data parameters, and we'll be using it to be integrated with our big business intelligence ecosystem, so people can simply talk to their data, get the insights, and a lot of things which can be optimized, and a lot of things that can bring the value. We're working on that type of use cases. To be very fair, transparent, a lot of things are in MVP. We haven't productionized. We are trying to align it with the regulatory. We are trying to align it with the policies. We are trying to align it with legacy systems, and we are trying to align with a lot of other things as well. And of course, we are trying to align with the investment and its mapping to the ROI. Okay, so we talked about how actually what exactly is big data ecosystem. We talked about how exactly, I give you the examples of couple of examples how we actually leveraging the generative AI through the big data ecosystem, because this is actually the core to the ecosystem. So if generative AI is something about training the model, something about inference, something is about building the artifacts to run that, is actually around, it's a sub branch of AI which actually help you to generate something. It can be text, it can be any other thing. So actually the brain of the model need to be trained, need to be contextualized on some data that has a quality, that has a velocity, that has a volume, can differentiate from use case to use case, actually lies in the big data ecosystem. So if somebody wants to leverage generative AI and he don't have that big data solid ecosystem that can help him on, if he need some inference data on the real time, he don't have any broker. If he need a very deep data for the training or fine tuning, he don't have that place to save the data, to store that data. If you want to create the features on top of data that need to be contextualized for RAG or for fine tuning, if you need some features to be trained or contextualized, if you don't have that much capability, you're not able to do this, or it will be very cumbersome process and you're not able to productionize that. Okay, so so one of the key area which I want to touch in this is that what type of challenges we face, what type of challenges we face in terms of accuracy of our MVPs, especially large language models. Was when we trying to use the RAG approach, the accuracy was very bad initially, and we tried to figure out that it's more into we are training it on diverse data sets, especially our KYCs, which are built, which are more like structured tables or tabular forms, where you have millions of customers profiles and their personalized information on which we can train or use the RAG approach to contextualize the LLM. So we face a big problem, which was data quality. Okay, and to be very fair, it took us very long time to actually figure out that how we can fix it. Okay, but we have a very solid ecosystem of big data that actually help us to cleanse the data, to make it more likely to be feed it as a feature to the model, help us to build a very clean knowledge base. It it helps us to actually leverage the model for some MVPs and things. So actually, in theory, our big data system help us in model training, providing the data in a correct form in a way that it can be improved and it can be utilized by the model. Okay, so I'll be touching a couple of use cases, like how actually our big data is helping us to understand the personalization about our customers. Approximately, we have 60 plus source systems with billing system, with network systems, a lot of other systems, device management system, a lot of I would say demographics about our customer, which are being stored, which are being ingested at real time, near to real time, or even batch forms. So exactly what we developed for one of the use case, our big data ecosystem actually help us to build the user profile from 60 plus different ecosystem in a way that is more like a persona per customer with approximately 15,000 features. Okay, so to be very fair, the active features are approximately 200 to 400, but inactive features, or you can say the dynamic feature built onto it, is more than 15,000. This actually help us to build approximately 50 plus conventional use cases. So the existing big data ecosystem was so much mature to deliver the conventional use cases. We use that same ecosystem, and we are currently using that same ecosystem to build our approximately 10 plus MVPs, which we are trying to productionize in early next year or maybe end of this year. And we are seeing very big value from that. We are trying to we're trying to align with the legacy system to which the actually endpoints of our generative AI or LLM will be integrated, because to be very fair, a lot of legacy system in the world are not prepared to actually consume these type of generative things, and there are a lot of risk at their end as well, which we are working to actually optimize. Okay, I'll touch a couple of things. The word well, that generative AI is actually not only generative about text. I'll touch a couple of use cases. So currently, working on one of the use case where we are actually helping the municipality to integrate one of our MVP with their bot, where at the real time we will help them about by generating the content. The people who are, for sake of argument, people are traveling between some specific time, we can generate the messages, we can generate the content to their system, and we can help them in getting the real time demographics about the customers, and that can be sent to the customers at the real time to optimize the thing, to optimize the city. So this is one of the use case which we are targeting this year. And okay, one of the use case which we are targeting to bring some information from our kiosk points is more like imagery information, and we are trying to build some, we're trying to generate a lot of things around that, though this is still bind with the regulatory, and we are waiting for their bind. Okay, I can touch deep into what exactly is in the world, what is going on generative AI. I think most of the people are aware about that, but I just want to share my personal experience or my practical experience with you people, so it can help you exactly how exactly the big data ecosystem is critical while you are building a generative AI ecosystem, or you are expanding your AI ecosystem with the traditional AI plus generative AI. Okay, and so your big data ecosystem is one of the critical heart of your generative AI data ecosystem. Okay, so actually, how we are accelerating the innovation with generative AI is that we're working on one of the interesting use cases I just want to share with you is actually smart data centers. Okay, so what we are trying to do, we are trying to make our data center smart and to actually align with the next generation. Like I give you the example, we are into very struggle of having GPUs in the data centers. A lot of organizations are struggling to get the GPUs, and the cooling system and a lot of data centers are not up to the mark to actually support these type of technologies with the baseline temperatures, cooling system, and XYZ things. Okay, So we are working with our infrastructure team to build and use generative AI, okay, to use actually test the current. It's more like a digital twin concept or co-pilot concept where we're using it for one of the internal use case where we actually provide them a synthetic data, okay, to test their current heating and the cooling ecosystem. I'm not very aware about the terms they are using, but we are more like actually helping them with synthetic data, which will be generated by one of our MVP. We are working with specifically with our developer ecosystem where we are building an internal co-pilot to actually help. Like I give you the example, if somebody leaves the company, it's very hard to get the knowledge transfer. So we actually training or fine tuning, sorry, on the documents, on the emails. We're trying to build an MVP around that. So if somebody leaves, there need to be a knowledge base where other people can learn. There need to be a brain. There need to be LLM where people can ask the question and that can actually help the people who are leaving and who are there. It's more like an employee co-pilot, which we are working on an MVP. So it's more like an intelligent, I would say, and creative way to actually reduce the risk while people leave, and it's part of the ecosystem. We're working with HR analytics to actually fine tune, bring their documents to our big data ecosystem, clean that document, do some chunking, and it's more like a RAG-based approach where we will be using some vector database for indexing and embedding, and we will be generating a lot of content for them for their implies emails. A lot of things is still in the MVP stage, and we are trying to test it more and trying to get more accuracy around that. Okay, this is something which I will take much more time. It's ethical consideration in big data and generative AI. Okay, when we build our first MVP and it was quite successful, it was more like a summarization of the documents, and there are a lot of concerns from internal data governance, privacy teams, cybersecurity team, and even regulatory. Okay, we're trying to address all of them, but we are working with them because one of the biggest concern was using the open source LLMs. The other biggest concern was the ethical way. Like if we are training our fine tuning our LLM on some documentation which are related to finance, and if somebody is asking the endpoint or the part question, and if it's not accurate or if it's not generating it, if it's creating a biasness in his views, that will actually impact the decision maker. Okay, so it's not about taking a hasty decision. Okay, we have looked into this and we are trying to test it with more like an MVP, and maybe that's why we didn't productionize a single use case this year. Okay, to be very fair, because we need to comply it with our data governance, specifically when it comes to telecom. There are a lot of things which need to be keep considered because it's more like consumers demographics, and of course their privacy. We are training something on their privacy or their specific data need to be we need to keep consideration about the privacy and the requirements, and specifically we need to see if the results are not actually impacting the decision in a wrong way. Okay, and if because for specifically for HR, if it's something in the wrong way, it comes under even the ethics and code of conduct. Okay, so we're trying to address that concerns with accuracy, increasing accuracy with building a more like a domain specific language model, using some trying to be very specific in our use case, trying to target a very specific audience, and we're not getting like bringing something very big models and trying to get a tick mark that okay, we are using generative AI. We are very specific and we are very concerned in terms of ethical results from this ecosystem. Okay, of course, I talk about the algorithm biasness because this is very critical. If it's biased, it will impact decision making. So this need to be very considered, and we are trying to consider it very thoroughly, and we're trying to review it. And that's why I told you we haven't productionized because we have a lot of things ready to be productionized. Still, we are working on their accuracy, ethical, privacy, data governance, and a regulatory impact. Okay. Uh, of course, I'll touch with this social impact. A lot of things, to be very fair, when we're working with a couple of teams to actually for the co-pilots, for specifically the code generation, a lot of people were worried about their job. Even this is a fact that if somebody can generate some X LLM can generate a code for you, and it's much more optimized by the person who is writing the code for sake of argument. Okay, so it can actually impact his job, his employment. Okay, so that's the thing where I think we are working with our skill development team to actually create awareness and to actually help the people to learn these new technologies, because generative AI will not be a part of technology. It's not a technology that technology team will own. It's a democratization of AI across the teams, that for everybody will use it. Even the administration department of the facility will use it. Okay, so we need to figure out the use case. We need to actually be working with the skill development committee for the awareness. We have to be building, working with the skill development committee to actually create some trainings around this thing. And first thing is awareness, and the second thing is train the specific people so they actually get a less impact rather than they actually add the value. Okay, because we have developed a very big ecosystem around the generative AI. Sorry. So I'll touch this topic as architecture consideration for generative AI. Okay, so while you're designing your ecosystem for generative AI, of course, it has a couple of layers. So the base layer is actually infrastructure. You need a compute to train, fine tune, rack, whichever approach you are trying to go. You need a very solid infrastructure. I'm talking about GPUs. You need to have an orchestration layer on top of that to manage that infrastructure. Okay, you need to have an AI frameworks, okay, that can help you to build that ecosystem, deploy that your models, train your models, and a lot of things. But the whole MLOps process or LLM ops process you need to follow. So you need to have that AI frameworks layer. On top of that, you need to have front-end layer where you'll be building your bots, you will be integrating with your APIs with your BSS and OSS systems. You'll be integrating a lot of downstream and upstream system. So actually so you need to keep them modular. Okay, so if you want to scale the GPUs, you need to only focus on GPUs, want to scale there. Orchestration from GPUs and with the CPUs, so you need to handle it separately if you want to add the frameworks. And the frameworks, this layer, AI ecosystem layer, doesn't only create the frameworks, that contain the frameworks, that contain the different type of databases for your use cases, like vector database, GIS database, document DBs, a lot of other things, NoSQL and SQL DBs, which vary from the use case to use case, and a lot of other ecosystems that are required to actually train the model, deploy the model, and to actually serve the model. Okay, and of course in the soft ecosystem. So what I learned from that, it need to be very scalable. Okay, it need to be very flexible in terms, like we are currently considering, we are currently working specifically using open source ecosystem. Okay, and purely internal managed. Okay, because initially we have been into long discussion on this, to go for some enterprise grade solution. But to be very fair, we don't want to limit ourselves, don't want to, because the way open source ecosystem is going, I think it will be very hard to have something enterprise that can be very much flexible on running on this ecosystem. So it's I would say, it's up to you, up to the organization architecture, up to the resources you have, up to the skill set you have. But we went with the open source ecosystem, and we are very happy with that, specifically when it comes to distributed training, especially when it comes to the MLOps concept, especially when it comes to the LMOps, especially when it comes to the ecosystem to leverage the orchestration layer. Okay, I think I talk about the data processing and feature engineering, specifically when it comes to big data. Actually, one of the key things that actually helped us to develop the MVP very fast was our big data ecosystem. That actually helped us to process the data and to use and to build the features around that, to have a whole life cycle of feature engineering. Because initially we were doing it, we were using traditional AI, and we were much mature in that, and we have approximately 50 to 70 use cases deployed. And so we actually use the same ecosystem to actually leverage our MVPs, our generative AI ecosystem, and this is the core of that. If you can't process your data with the velocity and volume and less big data fees, okay, if you don't have the feature engineering capability, if you don't have the transformation capability, if you don't have the I would say the data ops ecosystem, okay, you cannot leverage generative AI. Maybe you can do a one use case with something, simply getting an API and getting an answer, but if you are building an ecosystem at enterprise grade level, I think you will suffer. Okay, this is something which I want to touch the topic. One of the key challenges nowadays we are facing is actually deployment. Okay, a lot of ecosystem which we need to integrate our endpoints of generative AI or LLM endpoints are not ready to consume that. It's not about API consumption. It's about actually the system need to be ready, and system need to be guardrailed in a way that it can be consuming the generative AI. And the way generative AI works, the way generative AI generates the content, it should be able to use that content and to get the right to get it to the right audience and get it to the right function which we are trying to target. So I think we sometime we went into like I'm belonging to data and AI ecosystem. We only focus on data and AI ecosystem. We need to create awareness about a lot of other systems as well in that in our enterprise organization, that our system which are directly talking to the end consumers, or a system that are actually middleware or something, they need to be capable enough to actually consume these type of things. They need to be scalable enough to consume this type of things. So what we are targeting, or what we are using the concept of cloud containerization and cloud native, because it will help us to ensure the seamless deployment. It will help us do for some lot of things in like what you can say prerequisite management, and that can more like a model of form to move the things around in a way that can help us to achieve the goal. Okay, so I already talked about a couple of challenges. I would say the biggest challenge which we are currently facing is purely data privacy. Okay, to be very fair, data privacy, ethicalness, and biasness. This is something, a challenge, to be very fair, and we are facing this challenge in a lot of ways. That's why I told you we are in the MVP stage, working on a big organization. If we are in the MVP stage, so you can think about a lot of other organizations which we are developing the ecosystem even. So we are ready to productionize, but we are working on specifically data privacy. We're working on the ethical biasness that can be created. We're working on mitigating the or aligning with the regulatory principles. Okay, we're waiting to aligning with the AI policy. Okay, and we're working with the data privacy and data governance team to address their concerns around this ecosystem. So I think this is the area where every organization is feeling challenges. We're working with them very closely. We're trying to address that, but of course, we are creating awareness among them because they are also new to this domain. Okay, they want to understand the value which we will be driving through this ecosystem, use cases, and AI products. And we are trying to create awareness on them. Even we are trying to help them internally as well by using generative AI, and we are trying to help them to be capable enough, or enable them in a way that they can use this type of large language models to actually optimize their self-assessment. Okay, so I would say that big data will remain the core heart of the ecosystem, generative AI, because of course you have to ingest the data. Again, I speak. You have to transform the data. You have to process the data. You have to leverage the data in different way, like for business intelligence use cases, analytics use cases, and AI, both traditional and generative AI use cases. So big data will remain, and of course it will actually empower generative AI in a way for hyper personalization, innovation, building prototypes, leveraging the way you want to leverage your generative AI, either for RAG, fine-tuning, training, whatever approach. You need the data, you need a correct data, you need data with the velocity, you need the data with the volume, you need the data with you need an open source ecosystem actually to actually be flexible in doing your job, delivering the use cases. So I'll summarize my discussion. So I talked about a couple of challenges. I talked about how actually big data is leveraging. So I didn't purely focus on what exactly I built in some slide, but I tried to give the example we are facing day in day. So if I talk about skill, there's very obvious there's a very obvious gap in the skill. There's very obvious challenges in the data privacy, ethicalness, biasness, and these type of challenges. And they're actually very big challenge in the companies who don't have a mature big data ecosystem. So that's all from my side. I'm looking for your questions. Right to you. So you can contact me on my email. You can drop me for anything I can help you. And thank you, the Big Data DS team, for organizing such a nice event. I'm looking forward for more in the future. I'm open for your queries, questions. Over to you.
Thank you, Usman. I think that was a very, very interesting perspective, especially from your environment, right? From telecom. In that sense, there is a whole explosion of data, right? I think you guys have actually quite a unique, I should say, adoption, or should I say the use case, whereby I think you were able to bring to life in some of these use cases and making it very relevant in how you actually were able to adopt and apply it. Right, let's get into some of the questions that we have from the audience. So I'm going to project the questions onto the screen, Usman. So here we are. So the first question that is actually asking from our audience is, what are the challenges in managing large volume of data for the AI adoption? I think this is something that we all need to take into consideration. So based on your experience and use case, right? What would you recommend or suggest as an advice for our audience when you need to deal with a large volume of data?
Okay, I would say that so you are asking for my recommendation in while managing the data.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, I think that's start from understanding to the use case. Okay, let me go back to the early days when we all were working on an enterprise data warehouse, and it was more like 50 to 100 terabytes of a data warehouse that have a conventional way of use cases to be delivered. And the way the data expanded and the way the organization are capturing the data, there was a need of something else that be more scalable, that more be resilient, that more be performance savvy in a way that can help to leverage the more data to have more insights. Okay, so what my recommendation for specifically generative AI and building a big data ecosystem around the generative AI is to you need to start with solid principles. Okay, you need to have a very solid layer of okay, you need to have a very solid layer of data ingestion, because of course you need to, if you can't ingest the data with the volumes, it will not help you. Okay, you need to have a very solid layer of data processing. When I say that data processing, it's not only for the conventional like ETL, ELT. I'm not talking about ETL, ELT. You need to have a data processing where you can process videos, where you can process audios, where you can process images, where you can process the structured data, your unstructured data, semi-structured data. You need to have a capability. Okay, whenever the use case come, you can enable that capability, and you can enable that data, and you can use. And of course, you need to go with a hybrid system with open source and enterprise. It's my recommendation for my last 10 years. Whenever you go with one side only open source, you actually face challenges. Whenever you go with enterprise only, you face the challenges. So you need to have a balance between enterprise and open source, because this will actually save your cost in terms of platform licenses and things, and this will actually create the value. And you need and one of the key recommendation is that, which we are trying to face, start enabling your people, okay, with the new technology, with the new ecosystem, with the cross-functional knowledge. Nowadays, like I think the days are past where people have one area and they start to work for 50
Yep,
years.
that's correct.
Okay,
Yep.
you need to be very subject matter expert of one area, but you need to have a very good knowledge about what is going on end to end. If somebody is doing data ingestion and you don't know where it's being consumed, he'll be nothing. This data consumption can be simply replaced by building a co-pilot that can generate a code. Okay, so you need to understand that the way the things are changing. You need to understand the way things are being developed and optimized. Okay, around the world. So we need to upscale our people as well.
Right. I think that's very good advice, right? I mean, because for the telecom perspective in your use case, right, data
Yeah,
volume, it's not an issue, right? You've got
yeah,
plenty of data, like you mentioned,
yeah,
structured, unstructured. I think in the session today, I heard one of our guest speaker was saying, "Hey, John, you need to look at also the metadata of stuff, right? That's also
yeah,
could be ingested and will also help build the AI model in
yeah,
a slightly more unique kind of a manner to give you a
yeah.
different idea." Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
that's why I just talk about one of the use case where we are building an MVP, or where we are actually training, fine tuning our MVP or LLM
okay.
model on actually our metadata as well. Okay,
Oh,
because
interesting. Okay. So
okay,
you
so
guys
it's
are also looking at that. Yeah.
more like an AI driven catalog that will actually support our data fabric.
Okay. So I
Yeah,
think that that's also something will be possible. I think as we look at the various different data source that we overlay and then we ingest and then we process that, right? Right.
yeah.
I have another question. This I believe this is actually a follow up from our attendee. So this question is asking about how do we, as an organization, ensure the reliability and the accuracy of the AI generated content or produced from all this big data source. So is there any guidance that you can share based on your past
Yeah,
experience?
yeah. To be very fair, this is a very tricky thing. Okay, when I was working with the one of the use case of network, we trained LLM on some network data, and we were trying to build an ask your data concept. Okay, and what we were trying to do that if conventionally they were using some BI tool and they were seeing the result and using self-service analytics. Okay, we built a parallel LLM and we integrated it with the endpoint, which was a bot. And you simply need to ask, okay, tell me what exactly, where actually, how many sites are up. Okay, you simply ask the text question, you get it. Okay, and we built, we actually again are consuming that data to a table or to a system, and we are trying to compare that results, especially
Right.
the numbers with the BI ecosystem. Okay, because it's a RAG-based approach. We only contextualizing the thing, and LLM is generating. So this is one for the RAG approach. For the fine tuning, specifically the use cases for HR, use cases for different business units like administration, and these are very tricky. Okay, because
Wow.
these are
Okay.
documents. Okay, and nobody can read the 500 documents and then start thinking about that, which if
True.
it's correct or not.
Agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's why I told you we as a very big organization hasn't productionized a single use case. We are in MVP stage. We are ready to productionize, but we are working on some correctness. So the way we are working is purely some bit medium of hybrid approach, using some manual approach and using some feedbacks from the interviewers, from the different people who are using the conventional system today, that they feel different in different type of prompts.
Right. I think, like I said, it's really really amazing that you guys have actually done a lot of work in this area. I think it's actually I find it very interesting that you are able to showcase or even share with us, right, on
Yeah,
how you guys have actually started this. Like I said, in your environment, I'm really really amazed at the
yeah,
what we call magnitude of data, but in that sense, right? Right.
yeah.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time. Again, Usman, thank you so much for taking time out, calling in from Saudi Arabia. Like I said, I really appreciate your contribution again in sharing some of these insights and use cases that you have done for telecom in that sense that to share with our audience. I really didn't realize before this session, right, how broad you guys or how far you guys have gone. But like I said, I wish you all the success in the future. Hopefully next year you can actually even demonstrate some of those maybe
Yeah, I
remote
was
or
thinking to say this the next year I'll demonstrate some of the use cases so it can
absolutely.
help everybody. Yeah,
that
perfect.
that that will be really a exciting, I think, phase that we can actually look forward to. Usman, thank you again. I
Thank you
really,
much,
really
Lee.
enjoyed
Looking
our
forward
session.
to next year.
It was really, really fantastic in that sense.
Thank you.
Right,
Thank you.
coming up next in the hour, we do have two gentlemen joining us, Kartikeyan as well as Pankesh, talking on two separate interesting topics. So you do have a choice to pick which one would be your fancy that you think would be interest of you. So Kartikeyan is actually going to talk about generative AI, enhancing self-service analytics and bridging the data literacy divide. This is on track one itself. On track two, we do have Pankesh, who's going to help us to talk about the insurance revolution, specifically on AI and big data reshaping the industry. So make a choice. I'll see you next on the track two itself. Thank you.